How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are live. Get off the damn fence. Is here for another week. Here with Calvin Thomas and Justin Harris. I'm Larry Caution. How y'all feeling tonight? What's going on, fellas?
What's happening? Another Tuesday. So you know what that means.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Justin, looked like you are fresh off the softball field. How was everything tonight?
We play like the Orioles in the playoffs.
We'll get to that though. We will get to that. You know what I mean? It happens to the best of us. So yes, thank you for joining us tonight. We are here each and every Tuesday night around 9:00. We'll get off the damn fence. Be sure if you're watching this stream to share the live. Let everybody know we're here. We like to pass the word. We appreciate those loyal viewers who continue to watch us and share us. And as the show go on, you might comment, talk to some other people, let them know that we talking all the latest in NFL. We're going to hit on some WNBA tonight as the playoffs are nearing the finals. Also, we're going to have to do a recap on what it was to be a Baltimore Orioles fan last week in the city of Baltimore when the Orioles went down in devastating fashion in 2 games straight at home in the wild card round. So we'll get into that a bit later, but I believe it is most important that we start tonight with the NFL. What a week in the NFL it truly was. Very interesting results. I will say that I did a pretty good job of picking some things. I missed $5,000, guys, by just a.
Oh, you still hurt on that? Yeah?
I'm very hurt. Now I won a couple other bets, but they weren't $5,000. But we'll talk about some sports betting a little bit too, since we didn't have our LNC Lock show last week due to an emergency. But we need to get into some bets too, Calvin. It's been a couple weeks now. But let's talk about this NFL schedule and the big news that cracked today. We got to start there, and that
we ain't starting no damn Jets.
Now look,
something better happen.
Look, something happened before the season started. We had a discussion, and I could have swore somebody made some pretty bold predictions pertaining to these New York Jets. I ain't gonna pull them up yet. I'm gonna let you live. But one of the things that was said was that the running back for the New York Jets, Breece Hall, would be a 2,000-yard runner for the year. The Jets would not only make the playoffs, but win the Super Bowl. Somebody on this panel said that. And I said, man, what are you, a New Yorker? What is going on with these bold predictions you got for the New York Jets? Now, Calvin, you picked the Jets to go pretty far as well. So you're not absolved from this.
Oh, so you just pretty much said it was me then by saying,
hold up. Understood. I believe they are a game out of the division, and they win on Monday. They'll lead the division. So I ain't too far off.
I think your eyes can tell a story as well. But anyway, the Jets look like trash. And look, they had a good win versus New England a couple weeks ago. A lot of people got excited about that. But like I thought would happen in London, the Vikings said, do your best. Now, that score looked like it was close. Game wasn't as close as that score indicates. The Vikings, who are emerging as one of the best teams in the league right now, they handed the Jets a terrible loss in London, neutral field. And then we get news today on a Tuesday that during the season, I gave John Harbaugh at least a week 8. They fired Coach Robert Saleh after just 5 weeks of play. Like, wow, that's horrible. So, Justin, tell me, was this the right move to make? What's going on in New York?
So, I did say that they was going to win the Super Bowl. I stand behind it. The season ain't over.
Yeah, okay. You snorted pretty hard. Go ahead.
So, with that being said, I look, this is what happened. Robert Saleh, he got treated just like Carl Winslow got treated. I'm going to explain that. There's a correlation. So, if y'all remember Family Matters, some of y'all might not. Season
Carl was
1,
supposed to be the star.
he was supposed to be the star. And then they realized that they had something else, and Steven, it was pretty much the Urkel show that happens to feature the guys from Family Matters. So you can either do two things. You can either get up out of here, or you can acquiesce and bend over to Steve Urkel. And clearly, according to Diddy, we know what Carl Lawson like to do. So with that being said,
taking a shot at my man Carl.
Robert Saleh and the management of the Jets, they was in a meeting, and they clearly said, we won't go after Devontae Adams. And Robert Saleh probably was like, I'm not with all that. We don't need that. We don't need that. We be all right. Why do y'all have to acquiesce everything to Aaron Rodgers? And they said, you better listen to Aaron Rodgers. You better bend over for Aaron Rodgers, or you can see your way out. Clearly, he chose to see his way out, and that's what happened. So I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked at all. They said security had to escort him out the building. Clearly, he was up in arms and unprofessional. But when you get hit with something like that, you got to react a certain way, and that's what he did. So he had to acquiesce to Aaron Rodgers. He wasn't going to do it, so he stood on his. I'm proud of the man for doing so. But clearly, this is not your show. This is the Aaron Rodgers show featuring the Jets, and we're just here to watch it prime time. Thank God it's Friday.
Your thoughts?
I mean, for the Jets to get where they think they can go, I don't know if that's Super Bowl, division championship, or even the playoffs at this point. You got to put all your eggs in the Aaron Rodgers basket. You can't deviate. You can't have miscommunication. Even a couple weeks ago, when they had a conversation of when Robert Saleh made the comment about maybe we don't need to do a hard count.
Well, that was the beginning and end.
That was, and then Aaron Rodgers said, well, maybe we need to play with more discipline. Like, that was the start of it right then and then. If you didn't know there was already problems with the New York Jets organization, if you didn't already know who they would side with, when the problem began, when they started sending planes to California for Aaron Rodgers a year and a half ago, prior to last season, we knew who had the power in the organization, and it was not the head coach that came from San Francisco. As much as he's been responsible for that defense, was he responsible for the defense? He's not even defensive coordinator, so he's not making no defensive calls. So is he responsible for that now? But you know who they side with. You know it's going to be Aaron Rodgers. He quarterbacked in. When you sign with Aaron Rodgers, you got to be all in. He was not all in. He was the scapegoat. There were numerous comments made in which his stance differentiated from what Aaron Rodgers wanted. It can't work in that organization. And you know who you want to ride with. It's not it's not the head coach. It's the quarterback. Head coach is replaceable. Quarterback makes $50 million. That's a big cap hit next year. You got to appease one of them. You can't do both. So
I got a real problem with both of you all. Y'all are just like, oh, you doing that? It is a hold up.
I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's
right. I
right.
told you what was going to happen. You all should have seen this coming. Everybody said, well, the Jets had this phenomenal defense the last few years, right? Common sense tells you all you need is a healthy Aaron Rodgers. Put him there with the Garrett Wilsons of the world, and and let them just and Breece Hall, who's supposed to be an All-Pro running back. Aaron Rodgers definitely got to make them better, don't he? And I said, no. Aaron Rodgers is a 40-plus-year-old quarterback who's seeing red.
He was 39 at the time.
He's 40 now and playing like he's 40. He's slow. He can't elude the rush. He's making unwise decisions with the football, making business decisions at that, not pushing the ball down the field. Yeah, I thought Saleh made a good point about the cadence must have been an issue when you're getting all these procedure penalties with your offensive line not knowing the snap count. You do need to make adjustments at some point. Now, I know Aaron Rodgers, one of the best things about him is he's able to draw people off sides and get free plays. But clearly with this offensive line, they have not gelled enough where that's not working at all times. I thought Saleh's point was valid. As a head coach, you should be able to make statements like that. But, oh, no. Aaron Rodgers, you can't. This is the same thing that happened in Green Bay. If you remember, who's your head coach in Dallas now down there, Calvin? And that's exactly why they got rid of him, because Aaron Rodgers wanted him gone. And they went out and get Matt LaFleur because Aaron Rodgers signed off on it.
And Matt LaFleur said he ain't listening to Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers could not control Matt LaFleur. That was the difference. And Salah stood up here. And Woody, look, you're an owner. Don't get me wrong. It's your team. You do what you want. But you had to know. You went out and got Nathaniel Hackett, who has never been a good offensive coordinator, who was
he was never a good coach. I ain't gonna say he wasn't a good offensive coordinator. He wasn't a good coach.
When was he a good offensive coordinator?
In Green Bay.
You think he was calling them offenses? Them offenses got better, if you really want to call it what it is, when your head coach took over the play calling. And when he took over the play calling, they were actually better.
I'll make the statement he was not a good head coach based off what happened in Denver 2 years ago. I'm not going to say he wasn't a good offensive coordinator. That's
what have you seen from this offense this season that has been impressive? They don't run the ball. They refuse to run the ball.
What I'm saying is the offense of last season was impressive because they got the same numbers this season with a better quarterback.
Well, so who's the problem? Maybe he's too reliant on Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is the brand maker. Let's call it what it is. Tom Brady went a long time with just carrying different offensive coordinators. And the quarterback is the key.
And I'm just saying,
you should have saw this coming. Go ahead.
The other problem is when you're a quarterback and you've been with one organization and then you decide to leave to another organization, you have to win a Super Bowl if you want to be great.
Sure.
Tom Brady did it. Peyton Manning did it. So he wants to be considered in the light of those. So he has to win in New York. Mm-hmm. Doesn't have many years left, maybe 1 or 2. So it has to be right now. So that's why they're going all in. Not saying it's right, but Aaron Rodgers definitely putting pressure on the organization to do the things that he wants to do in the hopes of winning another championship.
So Justin, I want to touch on the point you made. You said, was that something you heard happen, or was that you prognosticating that it was an issue where Aaron Rodgers wanted Davante Adams?
Well, what other incident happened that would make something go turn left ways out of nowhere? And something had to be of some type of incident, some type of importance.
It's when he called them out in the media.
He been calling. They kind of been calling each other out for a while now. It wasn't until this whole Davante thing started happening.
It was more direct last week.
It was direct. It was, we need to this maybe stop with the cadence. This drawn because it was a direct question.
Yeah,
how come y'all keep getting all these pre-snap penalties? And they said maybe the cadence is something they're not comfortable with. I thought it was a valid answer, straightforward. Aaron Rodgers took it as a shot. All of a sudden, Aaron Rodgers go on Pat McAfee, his weekly spot on Tuesday.
No, he goes tomorrow. He going tomorrow.
No, I'm talking about last week.
Last week. Okay.
Last week he went on Pat McAfee. Pat, of course, and his crew, they going to crack it, build it up like, Coach Salah said, and then Aaron Rodgers with his smug ass, maybe the guys could, maybe we should work on that. Like, he's a prideful guy, like most are, but he's just so cocky and arrogant. I knew it was going to catch up with him. I didn't think it would be this soon. I ain't going to lie to you.
You got to make a move. I commend the owner.
You got to make a move.
I commend the owner for doing something. It was only going to get worse.
You don't think Salah was a good coach to hold this ship down the way he has the last few seasons with Zach Wilson and these other rans?
You got to know what you have. And this ain't Zach Wilson. This is Aaron Rodgers. This is your Porsche with an old engine. You got to treat it a certain way. And he's not doing that. You know what I'm saying? You just can't just drive off on the streets of Baltimore. It ain't going to work.
This is terrible, man. This might be an indictment. And look, I used to be a huge Aaron Rodgers fan. Huh?
Indictment on who?
Aaron Rodgers. I'm telling you, I was a huge Aaron Rodgers fan. I used to love when he would dice up Dallas. I would love when he would do, like, he one of the best throwers in football ever. I always defended him until he just kept choking. You know what I mean? Like, at some point, you got to take responsibility, dog. And you went out and wanted Lazard, who's played well. Yeah. You went out and got Nathaniel Hackett and wanted him as your offensive coordinator. You make all these personnel decisions like you, the GM, to set yourself up in a comfortable position. And you got an all-pro running back that you refuse to run the ball with. I don't get it.
Like I said, he had to do something. If you don't do anything, you're going to see what's going to happen when that happens. When Washington and Philadelphia, you're going to see the quarterback and the coach keep taking shots at each other. And eventually it's going to just lead y'all out the playoffs. And you saw what happened last year when he completely just tanked. This is what's going to happen. So the Jets owner, Woody Johnson, is probably looking like, wait a second, I don't want this to happen. This can only get worse because I know Aaron is not going to stop being petty. That's what Aaron Rodgers is.
So does Rodgers name the next head coach?
Yeah, that's the
next year, of course, if he comes back.
Well, where you go get your guy now? You don't fire somebody in week 4 or 5 and not go get a real coach now. Why wait?
Who's the real coach? You must have someone in mind.
They already said that the defensive coordinator is going to take over
for the remainder of the year.
It wasn't going to be Hackett. We know that. We seen him in Denver. So
I don't understand the move. It's a parallel move.
Unless you think that the coach in Dallas is getting fired after the season and going to end up back in New York for a season or 2. Aaron Rodgers has more success under that quarterback. Aaron Rodgers won the Super Bowl under that head coach. Aaron Rodgers won the Super Bowl under the head coach. Aaron Rodgers won 2 of his MVPs under the head coach, I believe. 2 was 4.
I still don't think the defense is terrible. They solid.
But the other thing is, was he making the calls on defense, or was the defensive coordinator who's now the interim head coach? Because if he wasn't calling the defense, then
they were saying that the players was playing for the coordinator more so than him.
Okay,
he brought I changed the whole everything to that team. You gotta admit that he came from San Francisco, brought that package with him, brought that philosophy, and I just think he's had them. He's the reason why y'all so hyped for them to just be Aaron Rodgers away.
That team when he got there, they had C.J. Mosley. I think they had Quentin Williams. They drafted Sauce Gardner a couple years ago. So Quentin Williams, yeah. Well,
they had Leonard Williams back then, didn't
he? Yeah.
That Williams boy just came out and said something like it was either last game or somewhat midway through the week last week that people need to start taking accountability. But he didn't say no names. Was that towards Aaron Rodgers? Was that towards the head coach?
We'll find out.
It's that kind of stuff. You got to put it into it some kind of way, and they did.
Well, did you hear what your boy, the receiver, said? Who everybody thought was going to be all pro? He said the route tree is different. He said this is not the same route tree I'm used to when I was having successful and everything like that. My routes on the depth I'm running is not good, and he's saying that. Him and Aaron Rodgers not on a good report so far.
But even a couple weeks ago, those were the reports that Aaron Rodgers is really targeting the running backs, not throwing to the receivers, and then he forces it to him. And both of those interceptions that he threw on Sunday were because he forced it to his receiver. So, it's him trying to make a point, I guess.
Again, I don't think this move is going to change much for the team. At the end of the day, until they change their philosophy and get back to running the football and play action passing like most teams in the league need to do, I think they're going to have the same issue. So we don't believe at this point anymore. Let's move on. Oh, that was the other slide. But let's go to the Baltimore Ravens because, guys, I'm going to start tonight. Full transparency, I was in church on Sunday, so I weren't able to watch the second half. I watched the first half. The second half live. So I tried to evade any spoilers, but then, the
whole city let you know.
I was going to say that.
Man, I looked down at my phone. I'm literally in church, and we down by 10 points. It was after the play where Chase caught the screen pass and takes off.
So he scored on that. He scored on that play. One play. Yeah.
I'm like, it's over. Like
they back down 10. Yeah.
So I'm like, I clicked it back on. And the game was tied. We in overtime. I said, how did this happen? But all of a sudden, next play, Lamar fumbles the snap or whatever. I'm like, oh, they lost. I'm literally exacerbated inside the church. Now, when I tell you, I'm not sitting in the pews. I'm on the quiet bar. The pastor's in front of me. Like, if that was film, you saw my expression. I'm livid. All of a sudden, they go to kick the field goal. The snapper fumbles the ball. The ball goes wide left. And the very next play, the King shows up. Bro, I haven't been that excited about a win. All of a sudden, the whole congregation started catching the Holy Ghost, right? So I thought, the preacher couldn't have said nothing that great. I think everybody saw the score at the same time. Hey, Oklahoma! Like, it was crazy, man. I never seen nothing like that before. Everybody looking down at their phone at the same time. Anyway, great win for the Ravens. I thought this is the type of game that Ravens would have lost in the past.
I agree.
This team resiliency. And I wore this shirt for a reason tonight.
I wore these colors for a reason.
I wore this shirt for a reason tonight because I want to give this first time I've done it all season, a shout out of congratulations and kudos to Lamar Jackson. Lamar has cut his head. He has played within the offense. He has been happy to be a runner of the football early in the season. And then he was happy handing the football off. But this game was an example of Lamar saying, y'all, like Justin on last week's show, saying, oh, are they going to get upset? Are they going to get tired? They're not getting enough passes thrown their way, da-da-da-da. Well, in a game where you needed a shootout, the ball was spread around. I watched it back a few times. You saw Zay get his touches. You saw Likely get his touches. Mark Andrews was involved. Not a lot, but he got involved. Give a back, big shout out to Kohler. Big catches, baby. Big catches.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Like Aguilar had a big one. Bateman was huge. Like, what didn't Lamar do in this game? And Joe Burrow was absolutely sensational for 98% of the game. So Lamar had to match him score for score. I loved it, man.
You give Marvin a shout out?
Anyway, I thought it was a great game plan. Once the adjustments need to be made. Now, would I love them to run the ball a bit more? Yes. But if you look at the flow of the offense and looked at the flow of it, the passes was big plays. Like it was only but so much you could do. I can't speak on the offense at all. Other than the fumble, no bad turnovers. Lamar played a clean game. Man, what can you say, Calvin? Your thoughts?
I got a question for Justin at the end. So before we move on, just want to remind me to come back to this question with Justin. But have you had a chance to watch the full game?
Me?
Yes.
I watched it 3 times.
Okay. Everything that you said,
except that sorry defense. I'll talk about them in a minute.
We'll come back to them. Everything you said offensively, completely agree with. 2 names that you didn't mention: Rosenstein and Stanley.
Okay,
played excellent games. If you look at the pass protection on both ends, when they brought 8, I think there was 8 times that they basically had a zero cover blitz in which they brought more than you can block. Lamar was 5 of 8, 2 touchdowns, and the pressure comes where it's supposed to come from on the edge, and you're rolling out to the opposite end. The pass to Bateman on touchdown. I think it was Geno actually that came from the left side.
Well, yeah, Geno did try to get in there.
Hits Bateman for the touchdown. So they had those plays covered in which they were bringing in. Now there were a couple of times where I thought they were faking, and you can tell when they faked it, but they didn't check to the run, which I was like, okay, you can kind of tell when they're faking it because the corners were up. You're not gonna really press if you're on all-out blitz because receiver gets 1 step, then it's a touchdown. So there were a couple times I would like to see more adjustments, but you can't blame an offense that scores 41 points. An offense that scores 17 in the fourth quarter, pushes to overtime. Can't really blame. My only gripe, the momentum turned in the second quarter when Tylan Wallace decided to let a punt drop at the 20 and figure it's going to bounce to the end zone. I did not understand that logic at all. The very next play was the Derrick Henry safety. You can fair catch that ball. You run the clock out. There's no safety. There's no touchdown. It
was a 10-point swing. It was a 10-point swing.
I'm saying 10 points because they went for 2 and they got it. You're right. Yeah. The 10-point swing. I did not understand it at all. And then following, when they got the ball back prior to punting, why did John Harbaugh call timeout? It made no sense whatsoever. Unless you're going to go for it, and he went on 4th, and when he went for 4th down, I didn't have a problem with it either.
Yeah.
Because if you got Derrick Henry and Pat Ricard, 4th and 1 should be a given.
Shout out to Pat Ricard. Yeah. Ricard was phenomenal.
Yeah. Once again, go ahead. Offensively, I think it was a masterclass. Lamar was on his game. He had to be perfect to match Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow was on point as well. We'll talk about defense in a minute, but offensively, all 11 guys that were on the field at any given time made plays. Tylan Wallace made a play, the last run play, when you watch the blocking scheme, and he turns Hendrickson wide so Ricard gets to him, and then comes in the corner, and then let's Derrick him around the sideline. So he made up for his bonehead play. But offensively, I had no complaints with that offense. You know, you would like to see Derrick Henry get a little bit more involved early, but they were trying to bring the blitz.
He was the closer.
But he was the closer. They thought they wanted to blitz a little bit more, so I'm not upset. But shout out to the offense.
That's why you keep running them. I mean, look, what did I say? We talked about this for weeks. If he get 1 or 2 touches, he has the ability to break it regardless. You don't stop. I didn't like sometimes they took him out for extended drives and kept Hill in there a lot longer than I like.
That's when we were passing, though.
Yeah, but Derrick Henry can catch the ball, too. And he's better at picking up the blitz. I think he's a stronger blitz pickup guy than Hill is. But also, before you go, Justin, also another key point that I have to give credit to John Harbaugh. You talked about the mistake he made on the timeout, but he took a key timeout late in that game to save a crucial delay a game that would have not possibly made that field goal a little bit more difficult. So I give him credit for that because that was a big field goal by Justin Tucker as well.
I was going to say shout out to Justin Tucker because this was probably the first time in a while I was worried about a kick.
Yeah,
and I'm like, he had made a 50-yarder all year.
Yeah,
I think it's 56.
Yeah,
and then as soon as he kicked it, it was like left, and then just the wind just caught it. Yeah, and it was right on line. So
and that 5-yard penalty would have made it a 61-yarder. You know what I mean? Like you gotta give him credit for how they finished that game. Go ahead, Justin.
As much as y'all get credit for the Ravens, you gotta take away credit for the Bengals. I agree. You know, sometimes you just gotta play better football. Sometimes you gotta be in a foxhole with your team and say, "Yo, we're just going to outscore this team. I know the defense is suffering. I know the defense is this. I know the defense is that. But don't worry about it. We're going to be all right because every time they score, we score." And unfortunately, that ran out for Joe Burrow in the when Marlon Humphreys picked that ball off. So that was timely for him, and that was untimely for Joe Burrow. You got to make that play, or just don't make that play at all. So you can't make mistakes. Sometimes you just got to play mistake-free football, and he did not do that. And then when they had the ball and they ran the ball 3 straight times,
that was stupid, man. You've been passing on them all day.
Yeah.
This is an indictment of
in overtime, right? Are you talking about?
Yeah, this is an indictment of the league. Some players take full advantage of pressure situations, and some people like to be conservative.
Yep.
And when you're too conservative, you're not knocking out your opponent. You're just trying to buy time to win. And you don't do that in football. You don't do that in any sport, really. You know, that's like playing boxing in the 12th round and you just trying not to get hit. No, you still play your game. You know what I'm saying? So
what's been working?
What's been working for you? Also, I figured out Lamar Jackson. I figured him out. It took a while. You know, he's a 2-time MVP, 1-time unanimous, almost 2-time. So I realized that, you know, when he plays, I expect 2-time MVP type stuff. So a lot of people was impressed by his performance. I wasn't impressed by his performance. He did what he's supposed to do. He played the game well. He played the game to the point where he beat his opponent. He reminds me a lot like James Harden in the NBA. He's going to give you phenomenal type games in the regular season.
Calvin, you got anything else to say? Because that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. I'm sorry. I can't take it no longer. I can't.
See the hate that I get? All I'm saying is, this
James
is what I'm
Harden.
saying. This is what it comes around to. You can't have these type of performances now and then not have them in the playoffs. All I'm saying is that he builds this resume. 60 points here, 60 points, 50 points, 40 points, having phenomenal months. And then you go to the playoffs and you score 25. That's all I'm saying is if you're going to do this now, if you're going to be that S on his chest, what you have on right now, if you're going to be that guy, don't be Clark Kent in the playoffs. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. If you're going to be Superman, because he played for, guys, he played phenomenal. All I'm saying is I want to continue to see this. Don't just do it now in week 4 or 5 of the playoffs. Do that week 3 of the playoffs. Do it then. Do it when your team needs you to do it the most, not now. So if he does it now, I'm going to expect him. I'm telling y'all now. It is not that I'm not hating. I'm being 100% honest. I'm just saying I want to see this type of performance because that's what the MVPs do. That's what the great ones do. You're talking about he's supposed to be one of the top 10 quarterbacks of all time because he got 2 MVPs. I just need to see this later on. Don't build this resume and then have it come crashing down in the playoffs.
So
I don't care.
All we can do is watch the game that we just saw and react.
Is the coordinator? I don't care who is the coach.
I'm glad you said. I'm glad you said build a resume because there are people who still would believe that this is something Lamar Jackson wouldn't be able to do. When we've seen this year after year, opponent versus opponent, we can go back to a Kansas City game or Indianapolis game or name numerous opponents that he's done this to, but they will still sit here and say the way to beat the Baltimore Ravens is to force Lamar to throw. Well, he just threw for 4 touchdowns. He just threw for 380, and that was enough to win the ball game. So I'm glad he added to the resume just to kind of refute what you just said. He's adding to the resume. He's proven the doubters wrong game after game, week after week, especially the last 3 weeks of this regular season when they went from just 0-2 a month ago, and now they're 3-2 in front and leading the division.
I want to be very careful. This is why I don't talk about stats a lot with Lamar, because comparing him to other quarterbacks is just not a fair comparison, because he doesn't play the game in a conventional drop back passing way where everything about him is going to be quantified in how many passing yards he has or how many touchdowns he has, because he runs the ball a lot. And a lot of his offense, when you're doing the comparisons, they're not going to be equally compared. Like for example, I did pull a slide, just to show the talk everybody been had. And these are the eye-popping stats that everybody likes to talk about this game. Oh, Joe Burrow was 30-39, 392-5. Lamar had 348-4. But that doesn't take into account the other thing Lamar does with his legs and the passes he creates. That one play where we've seen it a million times by now. The snap is low. He picks it up. He runs, scrambles, stiff arms the guy twice, and then throws a touchdown to Likely. Yes, it's phenomenal. But think about the skill that goes into that play. Lamar does that, a play like that, not exactly like that, but extends a play with his feet on so many occasions. Think about what we talked about early in the year about the offensive line and how they were trash. How many times have you seen Lamar sack that often? It's not that often that they get into him because they've adjusted the offense. They've moved the pocket a little bit. Don't just leave him back there like a statue, making him drop back passer. The threat of Derrick Henry and actually utilizing the running game has unlocked a different layer to Lamar, where now you selling out for the run and Lamar can kill you because of getting one-on-ones. I just think what's going to be the tragedy is it'll be games like this that people look at as like this is the standard, when I don't really think that's the case. I think you need to look at Lamar's game well-rounded, and the running has to be part of it. And he just puts up – look, if you take Lamar Jackson on the average week, what do you average, about 50, 60 rushing yards, Calvin? And if it's higher than that, he had a 90 game earlier this year. He had a 70-yard game. You know what I mean? That doesn't go on these graphics like this when they do these quarterback hit-to-hit. So he's asked to do so much, but now you have a helpmate. In this game, the helpmate was taken out of the game, and Lamar was made to go score for score because his defense was terrible. And that's why I got the Superman thing on, because I just think we looking for these games from him all the time. And I think he does give you these type of performances, but the ball might get down to the 1-yard line, and common sense says, hand the ball off. You know what I mean? Like, why force a pass just to rack up touchdown numbers? That doesn't make sense. So his stats might not be eye-popping, but he's still doing you the work to get down there to get the touchdown. Remember that year that what's the backup running back? Gus used to have all them touchdowns because we was getting down to the 1-yard line, 2-yard line, and just running the ball in. Like, that is the effect of Lamar Jackson. Go ahead, Calvin.
No, I agree with everything you said. And moving on to the defensive portion, I know we want to talk about that.
Jesus help me.
I'll say this. When the defensive line needed to show up the last 2 possessions, we saw Matt Abike get a couple sacks. We saw Owe get a pressure. We saw them step up on Cincinnati's last drive during the game, and then they'll drive in overtime as well. We saw defensive line step up. When we need a turnover and get a stop at best, we saw Marlon Humphrey line up on Jamar Chase and get a stop. Do you need to cut that? Is Marcus Williams playing terrible right now? Completely agree.
Eddie Jackson.
Completely agree. And Harbaugh still thinks he's going to turn around. Completely agree. But one thing I did not realize until today is they have the defense has been thrown on the most because they've been up with most games. The last 3 games they were up,
and you can't run
at least double digits, and you can't run them. So even though on running possessions, they're still getting thrown on. So all the numbers are slightly askew. Correct, but there are still times when you look at Brandon Stevens and he doesn't get his head around to the ball. There are still times when Marlon Humphrey has to go guard the best receiver because Wiggins or Stevens is getting burnt religiously, as they did by Jamar Chase on that long touchdown pass.
Not to cut you off, but think about that run defense on that play where they went for the field goal. You think they didn't want more yards than that? The run defense, I mean, literally, they got nothing. And made that a
3 straight times. Like Justin said, at that point, why don't you throw in the ball? You know you're gonna kick a field goal. Let's throw the ball, try to get chunk yards at that point. You had success on just about every drive, but the last one. Just the drive preceding that one, which threw an interception. But if you just get 5, 6, 7 yards, it puts you in a better position for that field goal. And that's not saying you won't drop the snap again.
Yeah, snap position.
So
yeah, I just thought that from a defense schematically, it was inept a lot of that game.
I mean,
go back and look at it. Why would you have Eddie Jackson out there on the island and he don't even know? Like, come on, man. And I know you like the rookie, but I don't know. I've seen too many plays where he gambles exposed.
A lot and he's a step slow, but I think that comes with time. And also, when I go back and look at the numbers from 2 years ago, in McDonald's first year, they gave up similar numbers against worse opponents, in my opinion. So hopefully it still come along like they did that year.
They don't blitz enough. They getting smoked one-on-one.
I mean, I guess my thought is I thought they blitzed a lot on Sunday.
Like they did blitz a lot on Sunday.
I thought they blitzed a lot on Sunday.
I really think they blitzed a lot on Sunday.
I'm not saying that was some of the touchdowns.
Every time they blitzed, Joe Burrow was like picking them apart on third down.
Well, let me repeat that.
All those touchdowns came on Thursday.
You can blitz and then not be the type of blitz that are effective. I thought the blitz weren't wise. They were blitzing from a dime package. Like, what is that?
I mean, but if they have 4 receivers, you got to match the personnel. So I can't come out there and with the linebacker. That kind of gives it away.
A lot of times, if you saw, they were splitting out your linebacker. What's the young linebacker's name again?
Trenton Simpson.
Simpson was out there on the island, which he held his own a couple times. But then you expecting Eddie Jackson to hold his own. That's my problem. And then why would you send? I think you sent your boy too much from Notre Dame. Yeah, Hamilton he should be back there as a safety blanket.
I agree with that. He should be back there instead of Eddie Jackson sometimes. But you're trying to use him in all these different positions and trying to utilize that Swiss Army knife effectiveness. And he's blitzing from the corner. You got Eddie Jackson back there one-on-one with T. Higgins running right at him. Like it's not wise. I thought they blitzed a little too much. If the defensive line was getting the pressure that they were in certain instances when you're using those stunts, you don't need to blitz as much, in my opinion. You could have dropped back and forced, Joe Burrow to take a couple more seconds. I'm not saying it would have made a difference. I think it would have made him, kind of evaluate his options in the passing game a little bit more, though.
Van Noy was obsolete.
Correct.
Obsolete.
Correct.
Anyway, that's a game that the Ravens would have lost. Let's just put it mildly. And they pulled it out. Big game coming up this week against Washington.
Before we move on to Tampa Bay, which I'm going to have some fun with, what's up with your boy Devin White? I'm just curious. He can't play no more?
He's with the Eagles, right?
He got cut.
He got cut today.
Oh, he got cut today.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking.
I tried to tell y'all.
So I didn't realize he was 26. That's why I'm like, was he injured? Was something bad? I don't
know why he just got cut if it is an injury. But like I said, coming from Tampa Bay, he was a heat seeker, basically. It was Levante David putting him, like I said, similar to Roquan with Patrick. He was putting him in the right positions, and then he was playing off of him. We had Antoine Winfield Jr. playing behind him, Paul. So we covered a lot of his mistakes if he didn't make mistakes. He's
like Queen.
He's a one.
If you ain't watching closely, you don't see those type of things.
And you got to think on that Super Bowl run. everybody, we were stacked all the way around him. We were stacked. So the small things we had him do, of course he did it well. You just got to be an athlete at that point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just curious.
All right, let's move on because we brought up the Bucks and wow, who saw this coming? Me. Who? Me. Justin, did we bet on this game? I could have swore I
had the tape. It was no currency or no nothing.
I'll give you one. You like that? I gave you one. That's all I got in me.
Guys,
it ain't gonna happen too much.
I tried to warn y'all. I said, everybody in Atlanta, I got friends in Atlanta. I said, look, y'all got a real quarterback coming down there. Y'all better treat him right. Take him out to Magic City. Show him a good time. You know what I mean? Show him rehab my man. Get him right. Give him a few weeks now because he's coming off of a severe injury. But once he start clicking, you're going to see what a real quarterback look like. Look how many games they win in the clutch, baby. Every time Kirk marches down that field, dog. Hot knife through butter. He made that Bucks defense look like hot garbage. Overtime, never even touched the ball. Never even touched the ball. Just went right down the field. My man Kurt and Mooney, Algier get hurt. No problem. Whoever his backup is, put him in the game. Touchdown. Game over. Justin, what you got to say about this ball game?
I believe about Drake London, but I thought about this one heavy, guys. I had a long time. This was a long time to think about it. And I went through everything. I saw all the press clippings and the post reports and all those things. I heard what the players had to say and all that. It's just
I need a violin for this.
At the end of the
No, he was talking big shit last week. He said, "Even no need to watch the Thursday night game."
I tried to warn y'all it was no need to watch it because of the potential outcome. So no, at the end of the day, this is what I was just talking about with Baltimore and the Bengals. You cannot play extremely conservative when it matters the most. We're going back and forth. Baker Mayfield is matching Kurt in touchdowns. He was doing what he was supposed to do up until Bucky Irvin's fumble. I'm not even mad at the young buck for fumbling. It is what it is. It happened. Jesse Bates made a great play. But when it came to getting trying to set us up before we had to punt it, we ran the ball, screen pass, all these things. All that 5 yards and under stuff. Play the game. Push the ball. Just get into a better situation where you can actually might score or kick a better field goal, whatever the case may be. In that situation, when we threw it to Rachaad White, all he did was just run 5 yards and got tackled or whatever the case may be, end up giving the ball back. Mike Evans faked. He faked pass block.
Yeah, he went deep. Yeah.
Straight across.
He was wild.
And I'm like, they drilled conservative. This is Todd Bowles. They drilled conservative play in his head, whereas though he wasn't even looking for that. He wasn't even looking for any other kind of anomaly to the offense or versus the defense. He was just looking for that one pass, that one screen play, just so we can get closer and closer. No, that's not how you play football. That's not how you beat a team. Now, flip side, Kirk Cousins. Look, eventually this crap going to run out. Eventually they're going to start losing some of the damn games. So I'm going to say that first and foremost. Secondly, Todd Bowles, you do not have Antoine Winfield Jr. out there. We're missing players. We're not 100% healthy. Who is, right? Who is? But we're not even like 75% healthy. Mm-hmm. You cannot blitz as much as you're doing. Kirk Cousins is lighting you it's just he's just shooting dots. What your man say? The white guy back in the day, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. Fish in a barrel. You know what I'm saying? That's what he was doing.
The middle of the field was pathetic.
We didn't have too much. We didn't have any answers. We wasn't providing pressure with our front four as much as we should. I just say live with it and just stack it. Just stack the back end. They didn't. They tried to blitz, and every time they blitz, he just picked them right apart. So it is what it is. It was a bad loss. There's nothing else to be said.
It's not a bad loss. I don't think that's a bad loss. You lost.
No, it's a bad loss when you win. When you're winning.
Yeah, you got to walk down. You definitely got to walk down.
Like that.
Calvin, your thoughts?
Look, as much as I talk about Kirk Cousins, he was the better quarterback in that matchup on Thursday, as I predicted.
And we got set up. It was Matt Ryan night. Ain't nobody tell me that, but when I was talking last week. Shout out to Kirk Cousins.
I mean, last time I checked, Matt Ryan, they played in Atlanta in like 4 or 5 years. I didn't know that was going to make a difference.
Everybody was there.
I'd have never gave him a night after that 28-3. But go ahead.
Yeah. He was the best quarterback in the history, actually. But I guess he got to
better than Vic.
Yeah, statistically. And he took him to a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
but
he took him all right.
But you know, I've been high on Atlanta. They were able to put it together for 1 week. They had a Kyle Pitts showing after that. Hopefully, he put up the week prior. Like you said, the Bucky Irvin fumble kind of turned the game around. It was kind of back and forth with even Tampa Bay. You can make the argument having the momentum, and then that fumble kind of turned it around. And Baker didn't even have a good second half. He was putting numbers in the first half, and I don't know if it was the defense as per se, or just the game plan to kind of go more conservative, using Bucky Irvin, trying to use Rachaad White a little bit more. And that kind of turned the tables in Atlanta's favor, and they were at home. So once they got their momentum, but once they got to overtime, you know that you can't have that long pass to end the game in overtime. That's another thing. Make them work. Make them kick that field goal so you get the ball back. They almost feel like they gave up at that point.
When you take bad angles, that's what happens. That's just like your boy Chase. You take a bad angle with the wrong guy, it's over. And I'm not saying that because y'all Ravens. I'm just saying when you don't make that
you're
tackle,
saying.
And you're supposed to make that tackle.
That's overtime. That's do or die at that point. It should be better coverage. It should be better defense at that point. But look, I had that. I had the Falcons win. I predicted they will win. I didn't expect this type of performance back and forth. I think did Kirk Cousins over 500 yards, something like that?
Yeah.
Was it? Didn't expect
second
that.
Second highest yardage in NFL history behind Tom Brady.
Didn't expect that, but he had a great game.
In Atlanta. So he just went over there and knocked out Matt Ryan on his day. I took some pleasure in that.
Yeah, but he had a phenomenal day. I think, like I say, the second highest passing total in NFL history behind Tom Brady. Phenomenal performance by Kirk. Like I say, he just need a few weeks. They should have beat Kansas City a couple weeks ago. But this Atlanta team, man, if they could get that defense together, because the defense is not very good. But offensively, man, I think they better off just running a no huddle and letting Kirk go to work. So that's how they look good.
The thing with that is, right, I thought about that too, right? So this is the Tom Brady thing. Tom Brady was always good in a 2-minute huddle, whatever the case may be, 2-minute no huddle. The problem is it wears out your offense too much. True. That's why you can't extend that. So that was the only reason, because I said the same thing. Hey, Tom, go ahead and run that thing the whole game. And then
Tom was also 45 when he was with you.
Well, yeah, but so Kurt about the same age.
No, he's not. Stop playing with me. Anyway, next up. Let's talk about the Cowboys. So, that's what we do around here. All three of us got favorite teams, so we try to walk down that line. Because if this wasn't your favorite team, I wouldn't even talk about this trash game. This was absolute garbage. Big win, going to Pittsburgh to get a victory. I give you credit for that.
I already said they helped.
Hey, he helped. Hey, help me. Help the Ravens in first place now. Your thoughts on this game, Kyle?
Look, this was a total snooze fest to the fourth quarter, and the fact that it started an hour later
like midnight
didn't help. Dak throwing 2 terrible interceptions, just in double coverage to CD, trying to force the coverage to CD. Now, on the last drive, I will say that was some of Dak's best work. Coming down to them 4th and 2, you got to make that play. You make the play, you score a touchdown. The defense really was able to control the Pittsburgh offense. Not saying it's really something, because it's almost getting to the point now where when Russ gets healthy, I think he'll be starting again. We were just kind of building up Fields for the first 3 weeks. That's
so crazy. Last week, Fields was the guy. Oh, everybody's on Fields. Yeah, one bad week.
I think he had 2 bad weeks. I don't think it was just 1 bad week. The week last week when they played who they played last week against the Colts. They played Indy.
But they say he played great.
But it was still. But Joe Flacco almost came back with that game. That was the Joe Flacco game.
On the defense. That's not on the quarterback.
Yeah. When they need to score points, they almost weren't able to do so. But look, I'm with no Micah Parsons, no DeMarcus Lawrence, that front four is weaker, and you can't throw for 150 yards. That's all I'm saying. This defense took a number of hits. You couldn't get the ball to number 1 receiver, and this is the quarterback we want to go with. I think they could do more. On the other hand, there was nothing going on with that Dallas defense as well.
Let me say this,
game.
Not to cut you off, but there was a quote a couple weeks ago by Michael Parsons where he said people need to stop playing like Superman or try to be a superhero or trying to do too much. Now, is it a coincidence that Michael Parsons was gone? Also on the other side, Lawrence was gone.
Talking about himself.
And the defense was playing discipline.
He was talking about himself.
And stopping the run.
Himself. He was talking about Lawrence.
But both of them was gone. He should have been talking about himself.
But he was talking about Lawrence.
They was playing within the defense on Sunday, and they play pretty good to me. Forcing turnovers. People could rely on where the linebackers, the gaps was there for the linebackers to fill. I don't know. Hey, go ahead, finish your point.
Yeah, like I said, I just think that this game, from a Pittsburgh perspective, game just shows the limitations of Fields and what he can and cannot do. And there were a couple of drives in which he should have been able to make plays with his arm, just wasn't able to do it. And I think that's what shows. That's when the inexperience shows. It's when kind of the lack of playmaking shows. And I think that's why you're got to go with Russ when he gets back healthy. But from a Dallas perspective, it was a key win. You had a sort of a run game. You had Doyle get 90 yards on 20 carries. So you're able to keep them honest and even get 90 yards on that defense with your offensive line and your third string running back. That says a lot as well. You had Tolbert, who stepped up in a big way with 8 catches, I think, for 90 yards and a game-winning touchdown. When you're spreading the ball around, you got Ferguson involved. You got CD got his numbers. You had somewhat of a running game. You were able to win a close game. Now, they still didn't beat a team that I think is very good, so that doesn't help them at all because you can't beat teams that are better than you or even on par with you. But you had to win this game. You did win this game to kind of keep close in that division race. Kind of keep close to Washington, who seems to be running away with it.
Well, I'll say this. Yeah, I think you're a little bit too harsh on Justin, to be 100%. One of y'all secondary guys was leaving the field, and he said George Pickens ain't doing nothing. I think that was an indictment on.
Talking about, I want to say over. I know you're talking about.
Yeah, that was an indictment on Pittsburgh's receiving corps. More so, George Pickens not being that guy.
He wasn't into it. If you look at it, when he knew he wasn't getting the ball, he was just going through the motions.
He was doing that last year too, and they got rid of Deontay thinking that he was going to change. No, it's the same guy.
I agree, but it almost, I don't want to say it's, if you're in an offense and you know the limitation of your quarterback and you know you're running a particular route for the nuance of the offense, you're not getting the ball. They need receivers. But they also need a quarterback that can get the receiver the ball. And I don't know if that's just the Fields right now.
Now, Caleb had a good game this past week.
Excellent.
But ask DJ Moore how that feels. He still wants Justin Fields. He knows that when in doubt, Justin Fields is going to create something. I'm going to be yeah. He wants Fields. Yes.
No.
Yes.
Fields wasn't pinpoint accurate last year.
No. To pause. No one said pinpoint accurate. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that the ability to buy time in order to make a play for somebody else. That's what Fields was. That's what Fields did. That's what a receiver like DJ Moore wants. Yo, I don't care what you do. Just find me some way. I'll make it happen. That's what was happening. What I'm saying is George Pickens was supposed to be that kind of a guy where as though once Fields starts to improvise, once he gets that comfortable with the offense, he's supposed to be able, one of those go up and get it guys. He's not. He's not even the guy to get separation. He's not leading no statisticals in separation. They track that type of stuff.
I think he has the ability. I just don't think he get the opportunities. And I think that's the opposing defense. You have to tip the cap for them. Say, no, who else are you really worried about on that Pittsburgh receiving corps? You got Pickens and you got Freiermuth, that's
it.
You know what I mean? Like,
and you don't have a running game either.
I'm about to say, like, if I'm coming up with a defensive game plan, like, who am I scared of over there? Except for Pickens, because you've seen the phenomenal catches he can make in tight window throws. But to make tight window throw catches, you got to throw the ball to tight window throws.
Yeah, but players know. And the fact that he called him out, that tells me a lot.
And that also, who else you going to call out?
You just don't say nothing, or you just there's a lot of other things you could say instead of calling out that one person.
You don't know if they was jawing back and forth throughout the game.
Hey,
you don't know if they was if they was talking back and forth, and that was just a dig, just to try to take a shot at him in the media. I don't know. I just think that Pittsburgh really isn't that good. they live off of their defense forcing turnovers. And TJ Watt, he got a couple good pressures, made Dak look silly once or twice. But if they're not forcing those big turnovers for scooping scores or get you in scoring position right away, that defense is very, very deceptible on the back end outside of Minkah Fitzpatrick. And I said this, you got to remember that you still got Patrick Queen as one of your linebackers, and that guy can be had. Now, I'm not taking nothing away. They got basically the Ravens of a secondary. They got Deshaun Elliott, who was a former Raven, and now they went out and got your boy from last year, Geno Stone. So
Geno's in Cincinnati.
Damn it, that's who it was. Yeah, but they got Deshaun Elliott, right?
Yeah, they got Deshaun Elliott.
Yeah. And then they got Patrick Queen. So we know what their weaknesses are. Elliott, don't get me wrong, he had a good little stretch with the Ravens. They ain't no ball hawk. You know what I mean? Like,
they tried to replace him with Earl Thomas.
That's what I'm saying. He could be had. You know what I mean? Like, he went to Detroit. He wasn't much better there even. Like, I just don't see them having that depth of talent outside of getting pressure on the quarterback. And if you're not getting home, and Dak was able to create time more often than not, which I give him credit for. They took CD out the game, but like you say, that other guy, was it Tolbert? He was phenomenal, man. It was phenomenal. Tip my hat to the Cowboys. We talked too long about these bumps. Let's move on.
Way too long.
Dallas, moving on to Houston, where the Texans were able to, at home, defeat the Buffalo Bills 23-20 on probably one of the most we talked earlier about Cincinnati and the decision to run the ball 3 times to try to get into field goal range and get a victory right there and there. But that's what they did on the other side of the 50. You know, in field goal range, quote unquote. The Buffalo Bills had the ball at the 1 yard line, maybe I want to say.
I was going to give them the 2.
Maybe the 2. The Texans had no timeouts. A minute to go. All you got to do, fall forward once. You know what I mean? Get out the end zone. Maybe do a QB sneak. Next play, take a knee. Go to overtime. Or if you feel froggy, throw a screen pass the second time. You risking a holding procedure in the end zone. That's a safety. I wouldn't do that either. Run it again.
QB
No.
sneak.
These idiots throw the ball 3 times from the 2 yard line. All incomplete now.
And throwing it down the field. Not just
not no dump balls. No, easy, high percentage throws. No. Taking shots and end up punting the ball back to the Texans. They make one pass, no timeouts now. Scurry up, spike the ball, 61 yarder to win the game. Absolutely pathetic. You're on the road. You take it to overtime and take your chances.
Wait. Josh Allen supposed to be your guy. What's all this negativity? This is your guy.
Hold up. That's not my guy.
That's your guy.
I don't like
Besides Lamar, you said the Bills are going to be this and the Bills is going to be that.
No. I still think the Bills are making the playoffs. That had nothing to do with this. My point was, this game was 20-20. How bad are they? They just took the team that Calvin got as number 1 overall seed. 20-20 should have been going to overtime. A coaching decision. Now, I know you're saying Josh Allen should have completed the throws, but the receivers have been trash all day. Like, let's call it what it is. It's a miracle that it's a tie game with this team that y'all going to criticize. Why would you then not try to at least end the game to get the overtime? The defense has been playing lights out. A defense that I told y'all was better than you think. This was purely on coaching. I don't care what nobody say. If you say Josh should have completed a pass, hey, I'll take that, whatever. But I'm not a Josh Allen. Oh, he's my favorite quarterback. I just don't think I think he gets unfairly critiqued harder than he should be. That's my issue.
He made it back on the list.
Of what?
The list. My
you
list.
Gonna put that on him?
Shaky quarterbacks.
Oh my!
He's on the list. He was on the list at the beginning
goodness.
of the season. He had a little flirting of trying to get off, right? So I erased it with my pencil, right? Just because I knew I was going to rewrite it later on. And this is the opportunity that I was waiting for. He didn't do anything with the Ravens. clearly, you know what? That's okay though. You know, you had a little bump in the road. It's cool. It's cool. Come back with the Texans. Y'all, you gonna come back and do your thing. He did absolutely the opposite of it. What you say, Calvin? You say if a quarterback throw for 150 yards, you get a little shaky. That's what you said about Justin Fields. Same thing happened to Josh Allen. Are you a little shaky on him too? That's all I'm saying.
They were 20-20 with a minute to go. What you want? Go ahead, Calvin.
Look, I don't understand that play calling late. I don't understand how Josh Allen wasn't at least taken to the blue tent because it looked like he had a concussion.
Exactly.
So
he got dropped on his head.
I don't know if that played a part of it or not. I will give the Bills credit because they were down. I think they were down 17 to 20 to 3 at halftime, and they scored 14 points right in the third quarter. I believe on one of them was like a 50-yard pass to Keon Coleman as well.
From Josh Allen.
After that, when he got slammed to the ground, everything after that seemed like it just shouldn't have happened, including him playing, him not even being evaluated for concussion. And that's a bad look on NFL. It's a completely different situation. I'm not going to really be hard on Josh Allen because I got to look at the play calling because I don't understand why you're putting your quarterback in that position with that amount of time left. And you allow them, you stop the clock when they have no timeouts. You could have ran a quarterback sneak forward, let the clock run out and go to overtime. That would have been a better ending for the Buffalo Bills versus trying to hit some big pass downfield. Is it because you didn't think you could win overtime? Is it because you think you had to win now? Don't really know, but that was not smart football on the offensive end. I'm not going to blame Josh Allen. He ran the plays that were called. Coaching has to be better, and Sean McDermott kind of threw his offensive coordinator under the bus as well, which made no sense. Good win for Texas. They gave up a huge lead as well. I think it's a good bad game for Stephon Diggs. And they lost
Nico Collins from that game. So
now he's week to week with the hamstring, I think, or ankle sprain 1 and 2. So
Diggs ain't do nothing the whole game.
Yeah, he had 6 catches.
For what?
82.
Okay.
You had a touch of him?
No.
All right. But
every time.
Nico and Cam, I think.
Yeah, I'm just saying, look, that was a tough game. And like you say, Calvin, that's a great point. That was he might be in concussion protocol right now for all we know. The way he was wobbly, I thought
when they showed a picture of him getting the smelling sauce on the sideline, I'm
come on now. You gotta get smelling sauce. You're not all there. And your coach ain't do you no favors by calling three pass plays late in the game.
Drop back 3 straight times.
Come on, man. That ain't fair, man.
But did you see the side eye though before you go?
What's Stephon Diggs?
Yeah. I don't care what nobody say. Yeah, they got issues. That's all I needed right there.
We know they got issues.
Well, let me ask you.
They try to make like they didn't have too many.
They got issues. Everybody knew that issue. Y'all think that the Cardi B rumor is true?
Yes.
Okay.
Really?
100%.
Okay.
I don't know why, but I do. I don't know why, but I do.
All right, so let's go through the rest of the schedule. Any game, we'll just go one by any game that jumped out. Do you want to discuss it? Justin, I'll start with you. What's a game that we haven't talked about that you wanted to touch on?
That's a good man.
Exactly.
Massage Watson versus JD5.
Yeah.
It's
Yo.
Look, it's
I was like, who is that?
It's time. It's time. It's two things, man. Mr. Watson got to do 2 things. Either he needs to go ahead on and let Jameis play. They need to go ahead on and make that move, or he needs to say F everything and then go get those massages. That's all he needs to do. Clearly, that was the thing that kept him going. You know what I'm saying? Clearly, that was his X factor, right? So
that was the thing that kept him going.
That's all I'm saying. JD5 played well. It wasn't perfect, but when I say his confidence in airing the ball out is all I necessarily needed. It's all I needed to see. You're starting to hear sound bites of some of the players. I forgot. It was one of the receivers talking to Scary Terry, and it was like, "Yo, this is fun. Like this is football. Like they're enjoying football again." And that's what's really scary. And it's just setting up for a great matchup next week. So that's all I'm saying. I like to see JD5 play. I like to see what he can do, and I like the fact that he's ahead of schedule right now.
Yeah, he's definitely ahead of schedule. Calvin,
he's looking like year 5 Lamar Jackson right now.
Any thoughts on that, Calvin, or you want to move on to another game?
That was disrespectful. So I was going to talk about the Green Bay and the Rams game. I think, down Watson and was it Romeo Doubs?
Dobbs, yeah.
Dobbs, yeah. Mm-hmm. Look, I talked about it last week. Jaden Reed can be special.
Yeah.
Some of them deep passes, one-on-one, the first ones in double coverage, he could be special. He could be a number one. And you got 2 of your top 2 receivers, missing this game. And you still have Reed and I think Tucker Kraft, tight end, putting up numbers in the passing game. They got some weapons out there in Green Bay. Maybe it's the weapons, maybe it's the system. Not really sure, but they are an exciting team to watch. And I think with Jordan Love getting back, they can make a run for the division against Minnesota. They still have 2 games to play against them, but Green Bay is a pretty exciting team.
Yeah, for me, it was definitely, we touched on something early, but I give nod to Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray was back on in his bag on Sunday. He looked good, and that was against San Francisco defense. You know what I mean? And wasn't a lot of injuries out there. You could talk about who was missing on offense, but on defense, Kyler Murray went to work. So I got to say, I got 49ers as my Super Bowl pick this year. And
a side note on 49ers. This time, honestly, I know that the MVP last year was kind of up, and this is no shade of Lamar. I know it was up in the air for a little bit, and Brock Purdy was like that. He was getting it until Lamar and the Ravens beat them convincingly, and then he went out the water with it,
undeservedly so.
He was right there. He was right there,
no doubt. So where's the talk from Brock Purdy? He's not playing.
You know what the reason is.
Well, we're going to say
they're going to keep giving.
They're going to say McCaffrey's hurt.
If that was anybody else,
if you
was nominated, if you was close to getting MVP, we're not going to. Cowboys have no running game. We still holding Dak accountable. Everybody else is being held accountable. That's all I'm saying.
I don't think anybody ever truly believed it. They tried to elevate Purdy because he was the hot moment. He came out of nowhere. You know what I mean? That's the thing. When you come out of nowhere and go right to the Super Bowl, you do get a certain amount of all right.
I really feel as if the 49ers would have beat the Ravens last year and Lamar played bad,
he won an MVP.
He would have won.
I think it would have been Josh Allen.
It would have been tough. I would say that he was getting votes.
Had they beat the Ravens at that point in the season, he would have had to play very well.
It would have been all Brock, man.
Yeah, he'd have won it. He'd have won it and deserved it. Honestly, if you looked at his numbers, his completion percentage, QBR, all that stuff. But it didn't happen.
It's crazy in that same sentence when you can say that, and the people who believe that, there are people now who will say, and I'm not. It's way too early to talk about MVP, but there are people that say Lamar can't win MVP because of Derrick Henry playing so well. And I'm not saying I don't. I think at this point, when you have someone on your team that has done it twice, and you kind of got name recognition somewhat because he still gets slandered, I don't think that really, kind of excites you as it used to. Now you want Super Bowl rings, which is perfectly fine. But you just having both of those conversations, you could just see the favoritism in one club versus the other.
Here's what I'll say, because we saw this with Kurt Warner and Marshall Faulk. It's not like it's the first time you had a great running back and a great quarterback. What I'm saying is, if Lamar put up those numbers he did last year, which I didn't think his numbers was eye-popping. Like I thought
his numbers are better this year.
That's my point. I think it was the winning and how they won.
And who they beat.
And who they beat, when they beat them, and the fact that nobody else around the league really was that dominant, where you had to be like, well, yeah, he got these numbers, but if Tyreek had 2,000 yards, you know what I mean? Or if this quarterback threw for 55 touchdowns and yada, yada, yada. But nobody really separated themselves last year, where Lamar was really the best of what was left. I think everybody else had fell to the wayside. A lot of injuries, all that. But if Derrick Henry puts up, say, 1,800 yards, 18 touchdowns? Because he got a lot of touchdowns right now. And Lamar still is able to put up 4,500 and get you 20 touchdowns.
See,
and keep his interception numbers. That's what I'm saying.
They'll split votes.
They'll split votes.
Well, I mean, at this
that's
point,
why they mean it'll be hard for him to win, because
I agree. But at this point, if you had to say if you just had to name someone else that was in your top 3, who is it? It's not Pat Mahomes. Isn't lighting the world on fire.
Sam Darnold.
Yeah, he had a terrible game.
But he's still going to be up there. He's still going to be up there one game. Lamar haven't had all his games great.
I haven't looked at the stats, but I think the top 3, if I was going to just name them, would be Lamar, Dirk, not in no order. Lamar, Dirk, and Saquon. Those to me, those are the top.
I thought you were going to say JD5. I would agree with you.
He's close.
He's up there.
So that'd be 4.
If they stay on this roll,
if he outduels Lamar, he might be one of those.
Early in the season, but that won't decide it. We haven't played division games yet. Like we haven't.
Do you think that's going to happen?
Haven't played
do you think that's going to happen?
What?
They haven't played Dallas. They haven't played Philly. Huh?
What's going to happen?
Do you think he's going to outduel him?
We're going to talk about that in a minute. Let's hold off on that. But I do get the sentiment. Let's move on to next week. Nothing else really stood out from last week's slate that we haven't talked about. But let's get to that. The Ravens do play Washington this week, and I think we all looking at that outlook of this game. It'll be very interesting. The game is in Baltimore, 1:00 on Sunday.
Glad it ain't prime time.
Yeah, I prefer 1:00. They was trying to move it. NBC wanted it for Sunday Night Football, and CBS put their foot down and said, no, we like big games too. But the key to this game will be what we just saw and what we just talked about.
Game?
Huh?
Is that a Romo game?
I didn't know Romo. I don't know.
I mean, the number one broadcasting.
Oh yeah. He was CBS. Yeah, because Tom was Fox.
No, it's Harlan. I don't know. TV wise, he might be just Colin might be doing radio, but I heard him talk, so I know he's going to cover the game some kind of way.
Okay. But I think this is going to come down to the Ravens secondary having to contain that high-powered Washington offense. At the end of the day, that will tell and if they aren't able to keep them in check and let the Ravens offense do what they do, it's gonna be a long afternoon, man. Justin, how you see this game going now?
Ravens have a thing going for them defensively is that they kind of give up big plays to marquee names in the secondary. Devontae, Brock, Chase did his thing. Mm-hmm. So it kind of leads to that. And if Terry is going to have a big game sometime this season, this will probably be the game. You got to out of all teams that should be prepared for JD5, it should be this team because they see it every day in practice. Not to the full extent, but clearly we know what we're talking about. Extremely mobile quarterback that can throw the thing on the tee. So the way I'm seeing it, I think the young boy gets a huge W. There's no hate. It was just I just feel like JD5 needs a game to put himself apart from each other. He had this game circled. Let's just be real. He know who he is. He had this game circled, and if Van Noy and Oweh can't get to him, it's gonna be a long night. I've seen it firsthand. It's gonna be a long night if y'all can't corral that boy.
So y'all beat him, right?
Yeah.
I was going to say that. I was going to say that. The only thing that's different is, in my opinion, they haven't played anyone. And yes, I'm including Cincinnati and I'm including Arizona in that when I say they're not playing. They haven't played anyone because they haven't played a team.
So you don't count the victory that y'all just won?
No, let me finish. Because likewise, they gave up 35 points, I believe, to Cincinnati. So it was a shootout as well. But the initial game of the season, he played a decent defense in Tampa Bay Bucks. He had a mediocre game with no touchdowns, however, no interceptions as well. So he wasn't able to make plays. So he has to make plays in order for them to win, at least get off to a hot start. In the game against the Giants or the Panthers in game 2, I think it was the Giants. Once again as well. High completion percentage, no big plays. So he has to make big plays for them to get off on a better start. I don't think he'll be able to do that. I think even the over-under is pretty high, like in around 52, 53 points. I don't think it's going to be that high. I'm not expecting Washington to be able to score outside of late in the fourth quarter when the game is considerably well in hand. By well in hand, I mean 10 points at least. I don't think they'll be able to score at will as they were. I have more faith in the Ravens secondary than either of you, particularly Larry. So I don't think it'll be a particular shootout. I think they'll be able to get pressure with their front four. Their offensive line has been somewhat shaky. It's just a JD Fowler plays with their legs. And like you said, because the Ravens have seen this in practice so much, I think they'll be more accustomed to it. And I'm not saying they're putting too much hype on him or too much on his shoulders, because I say he could compete for Rookie of the Year as well. But I just think we need to temper expectations because of who they played and how they have won. Now, if they come out and win, all bets are off. You got to include them in every race. But I just think this team by being the Commanders, is not as talented as they're perceived to be. That's all I'm saying.
I think they're vastly talented if you look up and down the roster.
No, I'm not saying that they're not talented. I'm saying they're not as talented as everyone's hyping them up to be. Like 2 weeks ago, this game was not on anyone's radar because they beat.
Well, I think it speaks to
Cleveland and Arizona. Now it's on everyone's radar.
I think it speaks to momentum and a young quarterback who's a rookie getting better as time goes on. He should get better. He's a great prospect. He was the number 2 quarterback in the draft. I mean, I think it's a respect that people have gained for him. And I think the games that you cited were early in the season. And while valid,
the first 2 games, by the way.
Okay, but even the Cleveland game last week, his numbers were 14. He was 14 of 25 for 238, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. The running game was on point. The defense was the Cleveland offense did nothing. Mm-hmm. So we're saying that, but we're leaping all the praise on the JD5.
No, that's problem. All I'm saying. No, what I'm saying is, and I'll continue to say this: the Ravens secondary can make even the average quarterback like Gardner Minshew look like a superstar. And I think you mistaken.
But Gardner Minshew did that last year, so I wasn't surprised.
I'm not surprised by this young quarterback. That's all I'm saying. I think he's pretty talented. I'd love to be proven wrong in this game. I'm picking the Ravens, and no doubt about that. I don't see what Justin sees. I'm saying that defense has much to answer for on the back end. And if you leave Eddie Jackson out there on the island again, you let Stevens get one-on-ones all night like we've seen the last 3 weeks, because be honest, like Rashee Rice week 1, we saw Devontae Adams did too. We saw that only game I thought they played great was the Buffalo game. But who's that signature receiver that you felt like will be the ones that eat them up? You know what I mean? Like the marquee receivers have had success. Even Dallas lit them up late. I get we talk prevent defense and everything like that, but they ate them up. You know what I mean? Like all I'm saying is I think the young quarterback will have an opportunity to have success. I just think the Ravens will be able to outgun them. And if they don't, that'll be a problem because we know how the Ravens are. They play to the level of the competition far too often. I don't care who the team is. Name the team. The Ravens play to the level of competition. Period.
You know, I just want one pushback against Calvin. You know, you did the same thing that Larry mentioned for Lamar Jackson, and you just did it. You mentioned his stats versus Cleveland, and he said he only threw for 238, 1 touchdown and 1 interception. You neglected to say that he led the team in rushing with 82 yards. That's part of his ensemble. That's part of everything. So you just can't just say, oh, he only had 238. That's pedestrian. No, you forgot to mention the 80 yards that he had on the ground too,
which is important. I mean,
I'll also say they didn't run the ball out that game for whatever reason.
But he had 80 yards on 11.
You're right. I'm not taking away from that, but I'm saying they didn't run the ball a lot for whatever reason, and he had the most carries, and I don't know how many of them were planned. Actually, I didn't watch the entire game.
But isn't that a good thing?
But doesn't that make? Don't you see if he had 11 carries and half of those were design runs? Do you see that he's all of a sudden he's dropping back 30 times? Now he's 14 to 30. Like the numbers can be skewed either way. I'm just in my point. If he leads them in rush attempts, is that a good thing?
That's just how the game goes sometimes.
Here in Baltimore, we've seen that. So I'm not saying it's Lamar though. That's different. I don't understand. I see the comparisons, but I think everyone's taking it too far. And I know Justin was joking when he said this is year 5 of Lamar, but even the things Lamar does and has done, and even did his first full year starting, we haven't seen those yet. I missed that, you bitch. But go ahead.
Hey, yo, all I'm saying is that this young fellow is a young prototype of what Lamar Jackson is. That's all it is.
Well, think about 2019 Lamar. Lamar was passing and running. He was passing and running. It reminds me of him a little bit, but Lamar came out gunning. That was year 2. Remember that?
Like, I said first 4 year start. I wouldn't count 2018, but okay.
Okay, Lamar was a bad. Anyway, it's gonna make it fun to watch, and we'll talk about it regardless. Yeah. But I'm just saying, I'm not underestimating what the young man can do because I don't overestimate the secondary. I don't. I'm sorry. Until they prove me wrong. Yeah, will they make a play at the end? Hopefully, yes. But they make everything harder than it need to be. Call it what it is, man. Call it what it is. The best game they played all year was that Buffalo game, and that was the last time they was at home. Hopefully, they can carry that momentum over to this ball game. What's another game that you're looking forward to on this weekend? Justin, you got the Saints this weekend. What's happening?
You know, the Saints are who I thought they are. You know, they have
been. Same thing about the Falcons.
They are anemic. No, the Falcons still was winning, so I gave them respect for winning. The Saints was the one when I said they all the way up here, and I said just wait, they will come back down. And as a result, they are doing that. You know, it's not the same high-powered offense. They barely mustered anything against Kansas City.
That's a tough defense. That's a tough defense, though.
That's all well and good. But this is supposed to be one of the greatest offenses put together, right? That's what they were saying. That's all the hype was the first 2 weeks of the season. The league has caught up with them already, and we'll just continue that dominance over them. That's all.
All right.
It's nothing.
Calvin,
even if it's close.
Y'all got Detroit this week. What's your thoughts?
Wait, is Michael Parsons back?
Don't know.
I don't think so.
I know DeMarcus Lawrence isn't playing, but I don't know about Parsons.
Y'all got a shot.
Look, this gonna be. They may put up 40 on them. I don't know, and I'm not sure if Dak can respond adequately. I mean, we remember this game. Remember this game from last year. This was the 2-point conversion 3 times in a row game in Detroit. So I'm expecting a shootout. I don't know if this defense can play up to the standard they set last week because it was Pittsburgh's offense and Detroit's offense coming off a bye. I believe that 2-headed monster with Montgomery and Gibbs. Not looking too good. Too good.
Well, the game I'm looking forward to is definitely Buffalo and the Jets because you fire your head coach, man. You fire your head coach. You clearly think that's going to give your team a spark. I want to see the philosophy change. I want to see what's this big thing that you did this thing for. And I think Buffalo needs to definitely bounce back after that terrible loss last week against Houston. I'm going to be watching this one very closely. Should be an interesting matchup. And also, man, look, y'all can sleep on them if you want to. I'm not sleeping on them. But look out. Look, keep your eyes peeled. Look at this Chargers and Denver Broncos matchup, man. What a game. The Broncos been coming on strong, man. They might actually
the Broncos is a very good team, especially defensively.
They are
a very, very good team.
Give Vance Joseph credit. Doing a great job.
Bo Nix credit.
Huh?
He's standing up to Sean Payton. That's enough. Russell Wilson, they do it.
Hey, they
learn from Russell's mistakes.
They playing solid football. They're playing solid football. And they the Giants, man. What the hell? But will they be able to beat Cincinnati? The Giants be getting some victories. They even won last week without Malik Neighbors. I was shocked.
Against Seattle, right? They played Seattle.
Yeah, they beat Seattle.
In Seattle.
In Seattle, yeah. That was a bad loss for Geno and them.
That could have been a trap game for them.
They was
looking forward to the 49ers. They was looking right at them.
They better bounce back against them 49ers this week. I mean, 49ers need this win too. So another tough game. The Raiders are imploding. So we'll see how that is against Pittsburgh.
Is that Sunday night?
I believe
Monday night?
No, the Giants and Cincinnati is a Sunday night game.
Giants and Sunday night.
Yeah, that's Sunday night. Yeah, because they was trying to flex them out, but then it's like, maybe the Bengals offense is kind of explosive.
Is the Ravens-Bucks game on ESPN Plus in 2 weeks?
No, I think it's on ESPN. It's a Monday night game, right?
It's 2 Monday night games that week, though. And I thought last night they said one of them was on ESPN.
They always put whatever game is on ESPN Plus. But I think it's on ESPN and one is on ABC.
It's definitely a Monday night game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Monday night, but it's 2 Monday night games that week. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, they've been doing that for a while. One on ESPN, one on.
But one was on ABC.
At 7 o'clock.
One of them that week is on ESPN. It's the other game. It's the Chargers and Cardinals. It's on ESPN.
Yeah, one on ABC, one on ESPN.
No, it's on ESPN Plus. It's not on ABC.
At all?
It's ESPN Plus. That's what it says on.
They can't do that.
And the other game is on ESPN.
I never heard it. Maybe they're gonna put it on ESPN too.
But I remember, you remember before the season they talked about his games on ESPN Plus. I just never knew what night it was on.
Well, for us, it don't matter because they're gonna put it on locally, so we'll be able to see it on regular station. So anyway, that'll be interesting, and we're gonna go over the head-to-head on LSC Lock Show this week. Let's move on. Last week, the Baltimore Orioles were eliminated from the playoffs, losing 2 games back to back. Very difficult loss for the home team. Very interesting that they also decided to retain the manager after taking such a tough loss. A lot of people were critical of his decisions with his rotations, pitching decisions. Feel like he wasn't able to give the team a spark. They left a lot of men on bases. I think they stranded bases loaded twice in the game too. I tuned in at one point and they scored a run. So I'm going to take credit for that. But I had to leave, and when I left, they ain't scored nothing else.
So you can take the blame for that one too.
I'll take the blame for that.
All right.
But anyway, all seriousness, the Orioles, not to win a playoff game again, it's kind of tough after the season they had. We saw this fall slowly happen, probably a little bit prior to the All-Star break. They started going on this downward spiral, and it seemed like they never could really get traction until that last week of the season. It seemed like they got on a little bit of roll against the Yankees. People said there's a chance they might be able to claw themselves into an AL East championship, but it didn't happen. They get the Royals at home, and they're losing back-to-back games. So let's do a post-mortem of sorts. What's your thoughts overall on the 2024 Baltimore Orioles season and projecting this thing out going into next year? Your thoughts as well. We can take those one at a time. Let's start with you, Justin.
This was the year, man. That's what everybody was saying. You got through the rookie wall and, being new to everything. So now you have more tenured players. Although you're still calling up people and all those things, we don't have the same call-ups as we had the previous season. So we need to be a little bit better with who we have. A big concern for me is Hyde. Some guys just aren't. Some guys get you to a certain point, and then other guys take you to the next level. I don't think he was ever supposed to have been the guy to take you to the next level. He's just the kind of guy to get you there. But it is what it is. They kept him. They see something in him, maybe that we don't. Who knows? Who are we? But with that being said, I do have a problem with Adley Rutschman. He is our main. He is our guy, our catcher, right along with Gunnar, right? And I know Gunnar had his issues, and everyone talked about his issues, right? Having errors and things like that was uncharacteristic of his play. His bat didn't land in the postseason, and that's all well and good. That's all deservingly so. But if you realize, a lot of times they was running double catcher and things like that. Anytime when Adley Rutschman, who is supposed to be a premier guy, when he plays the catcher position and bats, he does horrible offensively. And it's finally starting to get out that he just it's his conditioning. And I have an issue with that. You mean to tell me, as young as you are, that conditioning is a problem? What are you, Zion Williamson? That's a problem, that you can't get your weight and everything like that under control, whereas though you shouldn't need help defensively. You shouldn't get a sub defensively in order for you to maintain, and you still wasn't that good offensively for us. To the point where I'm thinking like, yo, you might be on a trading block. Somebody might put up some nice pieces for someone like you. It's a problem, and I truly hope that Hyde talks to him man to man and hold him accountable. And 2, just be better. Period. So that's just my 2 cents. Once I heard that, I was livid, and I don't want to hear any more stories like that.
I mean, I don't know if this was supposed to be the season with all the injuries we had coming to the season with Batista and Bradish.
You get injured any kind of year.
Yeah, but I mean, you knew they were going to be injured going into the year, especially dealing with Tommy John having to take the entire year. But it was supposed to be it was supposed to be take another step than they did from last year, getting swept once again in the divisional round. It was a frustrating year. The offense was so up and down, but they had been down since June. And to score 1 run in 2 games at home in the playoffs, and that's how you go out, taking great pitching performances and not giving any run support. I don't know if this is 100% Hod's fault, but I don't know too many managers that are there at the beginning of the rebuild and also win a title because they seem to rebuild straight through. So I'm not sure if should still be here. Obviously, he's going to be here, but I don't know what you do with Santander. I don't know what you do with Burns. I want to see both of them back. I heard a rumor they were talking about price increases as well for some. I guess it was.
They said if y'all want to re-sign these players, y'all better pay up for them season packages and those concessions. Y'all better pay up.
You're supposed to be if this is going to be how the new ownership operates. I guess you can't be upset because I don't even know the last time they had a price hike down there. But if this is going to be how new ownership operates and this is how you're going to keep your players, I mean, the players that you had didn't do any good, so you have to get better hitting wise. You need more hitters. You had these young guys; they weren't 100% ready. Maybe they'll start up here next year. But it's a disappointing end to the season. I haven't watched baseball since. Have no idea what's going on. No idea what the series standings are thus far. Maybe I'll catch it a couple games later, but just disappointing how the season ended.
Yeah, it sounds sad. I'm sorry, guys.
You got a whole year to get back into it.
I'm coming next year. I'm in next year, baby. I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
I had to really let Pete Angelos really be gone. Anyway, sad stuff. Let's talk some WNBA playoffs. Galvin, what's your thoughts on the series coming up?
Hey, yo, forgive him, man. Forgive him. He should have just said something in the text, man. We could have just took over, man. If you hungry, why wait? I get you. Your ass couldn't wait a little bit longer. All right. So,
my sugar was getting low. So no.
Lord.
Go ahead.
Minnesota won tonight. They won
the series
to beat the Connecticut Sun, and that's the team that took out Miss Caitlin Clark and the crew. So we have.
How did we tie this into Caitlin Clark? She ain't been
because everything WNBA revolves around Caitlin Clark. All things connected to Caitlin Clark. You make sure you remember that for the rest of for at least the next 5 to 7 years for Caitlin Clark.
Until Juju and
the ratings have absolutely tanked since we was eliminated.
I said that last year. I said, the stuff tanked. The fix should have been in. But with that being said, the Liberty managed to outduel. It really wasn't even that close, to be honest with you. The Las Vegas Aces. Asia Wilson just couldn't have that dominant performance in the playoffs against them, which we know that was going to be tough. But, if you can give me 40 points in the regular season, I expect you to give at least 37 in the playoffs. I hold people to a high standard in the postseason. So now we got the Liberty trying to win the championship, going against Minnesota, and it should be a fun series. It should be a fun series. But I'm going with the Liberty.
Okay.
Yeah, easily. I got the Liberty. I think they may end this in 3 or 4. I don't know the matchup they had during the regular season, but Stewie and Sabrina, they're just playing at a very high level right now. I always thought the winner of the title would come between Vegas from the Vegas and New York series. New York won, so I got them win the title.
Agreed. I think New York just, especially after what we saw against Vegas Aces, they just look like the more complete team. So we'll see. We'll be keeping
an
eye
all
on
things New York this year. I'm just trying to.
Oh, here we go.
Just preparing y'all for now, man. That's all. You gonna see in February
Brooklyn.
what happens.
They play in Brooklyn. They don't even play in New York.
That's neither here nor there. It's New York State.
Before we get out of here,
so
anything else
too, right?
Pressing on your heart, y'all want to get off your mind? Open floor in this week. It's very rare that we got a little left time left on the show. We can go around the room. Normally, last few weeks we've been jammed, man. We can talk college. We can talk whatever you want. Floor is yours. Start with you this time, Calvin.
A lot of upsets this past weekend in college. Bama went down. Miami almost lost. I think Tennessee lost.
Don't say upsets and then say someone almost lost. You
Missouri,
say the people that lost.
I had to. I'm
Miami
going down the list
lose.
in my head. They should have lost.
They should have
lost.
That's all I'm saying. Don't say that they almost
Michael
lost.
Irvin,
they won.
The way Michael Irvin was down there, they should have lost.
Yo, your boy you got to pause all. You just put a pause sign over him because that was absolutely pathetic.
Alabama lost, Tennessee, Missouri, and I'm missing one. But this is the beauty of the 12-game playoff. You know, most of those teams, at least two of those teams, Alabama, Tennessee, should still make the playoff, even with multiple losses. I know Alabama and Tennessee will play each other in a couple of weeks, so that'll be one more loss on one of their records as well. But I still think it should be 8. I think there still needs to be the possibility of a good to great team getting eliminated, having to fight, having to want someone else to win. But college football has this last weekend has been exciting and is just starting to ramp up. We're entering, I believe, week 7 for college football. You're going to have your first standings coming out shortly. You know, you got this 12-team playoff in which, and I think we're in the midst of, in general, I think it's a 2.5-week period where there's a football game on every night. It started, I believe, last Thursday and runs until a couple weeks from Tuesday, or a couple weeks from today, actually, where there's a football game every night. There's NFL, of course, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and there's college during the week as well. So if you're a football fan, it's a good time of year.
Yeah, speaking of that, hey, shout out to Colorado, 4-1 on the season. Dion got them boys playing. But what y'all think about Shedeur snubbing Cam Newton when Cam tried to come up and talk to him?
I thought they were cool. I thought eventually they talked.
Yeah, but
what am I thinking about Travis Hunter?
No, I think you're talking about Travis Hunter. No, Shedeur said he ain't want nothing to do with him. Like, nah, man, you was talking that trash. I'm like, look, Cam played the position at a high level, both in college and in the NFL. Yeah, I think only a certain handful of people had the credentials to legitimately say, hey, I played the position, the same position you did, at the same type of style that you did, ran the ball very similarly. I'm trying to give you constructive criticism. Hey, champ, like, hey, this is advice. Don't do this. Try to do more of this, and this will help you long term. And I think he just took it the wrong way. I don't know if that was the public forum that should have happened. That the type of snubbing of Cam. I think it sends a bad message. If you're trying to move up to the NFL level, I just didn't like it. I know your father's prime and all that, so you already think you're big time, and he is big time. Don't get me wrong. I just did not like how that came off for a player who's still in college. What's your thoughts on that? Either one, you can go first.
So basically, what Cam said was that on his podcast that Shedeur didn't have too many real notable wins under his belt in his college career, and he is overhyped for his actual skill. When you hear that,
that wasn't all he said, though. But I heard the whole thing.
Was that on his podcast?
Yeah, it's on his podcast.
But he had said other things. Go ahead.
But when you're 18, 19, 20, you are very impressionable. Sure. And you look at yourself in a higher level, a higher degree. And when you hear someone else talk about you, all right, cool. You want to say what you want to say, that's fine. You just can't come around me thinking I'm cool with you, though. Like, what made you think that? Just because you say that, like, that's my only problem. You coming around thinking, oh, it's Cam Newton. Hey, what's up, Cam? Nah, what? Like, yo, save that. We gotta talk after the season or something like that. Like, just not right now. Like, no, we not cool. We're not seeing each other eye to eye. And don't try to talk to my man Travis Hunter because he got my back just like I got his back. So what you doing? Like, yo, you real fooling right now. You know? So that's the kind of vibe that I got from it. Like, these are still kids and they're gonna be immature. Point blank, period. Cam was the one that was as the older OG should have been like, you know what? I did just say something that foul to him. Either it was constructive criticism. I still need to let him do his thing. I'll holler at him after the game or something like that. I ain't gonna make a mockery of a situation, show up on field and all that stuff. That's just Cam being Cam, man. It's about time more people put Cam in his place, man.
But that's not what happened. That's the funny part about it.
But that's what happened with Travis.
The quote was taken way out of context, one. And two, that was in the context of a whole larger discussion about mobile quarterbacks. And they were saying, what about Shedeur? And da-da-da. At that point, it was talking about what happened last year, how he was underperforming against some of the biggest schools they were playing. And I thought his critique, if you listen to the entire thing, was completely valid. I mean, and who better to speak on that than a Michael Vick, than a Cam Newton, than a Donovan McNabb? You know what I mean? Those guys, Lamar Jackson, they know the process. Go ahead, Calvin. I'm sorry.
I mean, what does it say that this comments came out and then I'm assuming Deion invited him to practice?
Exactly. I think it was before a game, wasn't it? Wasn't it like he came down on the field?
It may have been before a game. I think it was. Was the
it was before the game? They were still warming up.
Yeah,
they were just warming up. He just come down.
But I mean, even still, Deion allowed him access.
Well, Deion like Cam.
But I'm pretty sure he knew how Shedeur felt. You can't tell me that.
Yeah, but it's still Cam, so he might have a relationship with Cam. Deion has a relationship with a lot of people.
Yeah, a lot.
But that don't mean that, you know, I still know how my son feels. That don't mean you go around my son. No, you just stay around me.
Mm.
All right, another topic. What y'all think about the Heisman? Who's your leading candidate right now? If you had to pick one guy,
Cam Ward.
He's up there. I think he's
up there. I gotta go Travis, but I mean Cam leading that team to a victory in California.
No, I don't. I say he's up there. He's top 5. Travis maybe number 3 for me. I think Ward is right up there, maybe 3. But Ashton Jeanty from Boise State.
I was going if that's why I said that. I said if y'all both say Travis, I'm gonna swing back around and say that young Boise State boy because he is balling.
I mean,
every week
you got the highlights.
It's the highlights, man, and he racks them up.
Does it translate?
What do you mean to the NFL?
Running back is such a fickle. Who's the last running back that went high? Who is it?
Bijan.
Yeah, Bijan was top 10.
Top 10. You know what I mean?
I don't.
And Jamal Gibbs wasn't wasn't too far behind him.
That's true. And everybody thought that was a reach.
I think Bijan was top 5 and Gibbs was like 8 or something like that, I think.
Yeah, everybody thought Gibbs was a reach because running backs coming down a dozen now. But when you got a guy like this who might be a bell cow, who you can, I don't know, man. I think he's up there. So
he's a junior, right? This is last year.
He's a junior. But I think he definitely
comes out. I don't care if my sophomore year. I ain't playing my junior year. If that was the case. The season I'm putting up. Just put me in somebody.
At that position, you want legs healthy as possible.
Yeah, I'm not taking no more
chances. Yeah, I agree with that. I
think it's between him and the Ohio State quarterback who transferred there. I think I can't remember his name, but he's in my top 5 as well, only because they're undefeated. I would have had if Quinn Ewers was healthy, I would have had him up there. But I mean, he done missed 3 games, and Arch Manning then basically led Texas to, and he putting up numbers. So
he got the name recognition. I'm not overly impressed when I watch him play.
Quinn Ewers
against lesser competition, Arch Manning. He played well against less competition. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. Any other topics y'all want to touch on before we get out of here? Any NBA talk?
I hadn't gotten involved yet. Yeah, I mean, I'd say the only thing I will say, I know the GM report came out today. I think I think 80% of GMs thought that Boston was going to win the title again, which I thought was a little high because I think they'll face more competition this year than they faced last year. I know that everyone seems to be on this thought train that Jaylen Brown and Tatum are just on this revenge tour. I mean, we'll see.
I mean, they are. I'm not going to knock them. They definitely feeling some kind of way.
I mean, I think Jaylen Brown is. I gotta see it from Tatum. That's all I'm saying.
That's all I'm gonna say, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. A lot of people sleeping on Giannis. That's all I'll say. A lot of people sleeping on him.
Giannis gonna want to carry the whole team, especially with no Middleton. They don't have any bench depth. Like
a lot of people sleeping.
They're starting to do Giannis a disservice, and I'll be very.
You talking about Milwaukee?
Yes,
right?
Milwaukee,
okay.
And I'll be very worried to see if they don't end up losing him some kind of way. The fact that you didn't replace Middleton with a premier perimeter player.
You signed him last year made no sense.
Okay.
Before the season.
That's all I'll say.
So I think I can say this. That we could definitely have a playoff. I mean, not playoff. Preseason.
Predictions.
Predictions next week because clearly we got time, so we can definitely get some thoughts together now that we all the teams in bye weeks and things like not all the teams, but a lot of the NFL teams.
It's a bye weeks. Yeah.
The season starts in what, 2 weeks?
2 weeks?
It starts in 2 weeks. So
we should have our show next week.
Yeah.
So we'll talk NBA next week. Come prepared with your notes, and we'll go division by division and do all the way up to our finals predictions and all that.
Orange and blue skies.
Yeah, it's like them green and white skies. All right, guys, that's it for us tonight. This was pretty fun. Thank you for tuning in. As always, be sure to continue to share because we know we get a lot more views after the live viewings as the week goes on. I love to check in to see how many people have checked out the show, and it always goes up. And we love the people who've been checking us out on YouTube as well. I've been seeing those numbers go up a little bit, so proud of that. So thank you all for continuing to move this thing along. And me and Calvin will be back this Thursday for another episode. LNC Lock Show. Go ahead.
So you know what we need to do? We should go live Monday. The Tampa Ravens game.
That's in 2 weeks.
2 weeks from yesterday.
No,
week from yesterday. Week from yesterday.
It's the 21st.
2 weeks.
Okay. 2 weeks.
All right. So I mean, we can discuss it.
Only because it's Baltimore, Tampa. That's why I was saying that. If it was only because it's Baltimore,
it's
Tampa.
in Tampa, right? Yeah. I'll let y'all know because even if I do it remotely in Calvin, you can run it from your home. But I normally go hang with my uncles on, away games since I work the home games. So I like to watch it with the fellas when I can. But we'll work it out. We'll work it out.
Why
all right,
guys. Go somewhere and watch them lose? That's heartbreaking.
Yeah, you's delusional. You
got Baker Mayfield your quarterback, and you talking that stuff.
You ain't learned nothing last week, my man. Kurt showed y'all something.
Homeboy. Short-term memory.
Okay, yeah, that's a good thought. That's a good
like
thought.
Cornerback out here, son.
That's right. All right, folks. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week for another edition LNC Lock Show. We appreciate all the shout out, all the love. I'll talk to you in a minute, Kenya. Y'all have a good one. Be safe. Good night.
James Harden, baby. Lamar Jackson.